Okay, this is now the tarot process, part 17, I think. Hope so. Okay. This may turn into the 7th card in a Celtic cross, but that's not my intention, because I want to give you an idea or two to make reading cards easier or better. And sometimes you can turn a card and you don't know what to say about it. You don't know what to do with it. And one thing you can do is you turn a card and you look at it and you think to yourself and you say to the questioner, I like this card because, or I don't like this card, or I'm happy to see this card, or I'm not happy to see this card. And you explain why and why not. And when you explain why you're happy to see a particular card or why you're not happy to see it, the questioner, who understands the ins and outs of the situation, and you don't need to. But so as an example, I picked some cards here. Let's say the Hierophant comes up, right? Or the Hierophant reversed. Okay, so we've got this big shot above here, and we've got the students down below. But if it's upside down, you say to something, there are different things you can't say. But let's say you think, okay, I don't like this card because we've got somebody in charge, but nobody's listening to him. Or there's somebody in charge, but people don't think he's very good, or he's good enough to be in that particular position. So you're talking generally about what's going on in the picture and what you like about it or what you don't like about it. And the questioner knows who you're talking about, maybe. And so let's say you say, there's somebody who's in charge, but nobody really trusts them that much. Or you talk in some way about a situation where you've got somebody on top and people down below, and it's not working. The relationship isn't very good at that particular time. So you say somebody in charge isn't doing a very good job, and they say to you, do you mean Peter? And you say, who's Peter? And you say, well, Peter's the boss, but everybody thinks he's an idiot. And you say, yes, we're talking about Peter. So you talked about a general situation and what might be going on, and the questioner sort of brought it to life, because they know the people involved or the situation involved, or they know what they're afraid of or what they've been thinking about doing or whatever it happens to be. And they'll provide you with a kind of commentary or a running commentary of what you're talking about. It's a bit like if you've ever watched a boxing match, or maybe you've got two commentators. One person is describing what's going on in the boxing ring. He's punching this way, he's punching that way. And then you've got maybe a retired boxer sitting beside the commentator who's providing details and a bit of explanation about why he's boxing this way, or what he could do instead to make his performance better, what he's missing out on. So you've got like two commentators. You've got the one doing the blow by blow, as they say, and then you've got the other one doing the colour. I think it's called a colour commentary, colour commentator. And they sort of provide details. And it's a bit like you're the commentator, right? And the questioner is the colour commentator. They'll provide the details that you don't need to know, or maybe you haven't got time to talk about. So we've got the Sun card. I picked out the Devil and the Eight of Batons as well. So we've got the Sun card. And I can look at this card when it comes up and I say, I'm glad I like this card. And why? Because it's a child in it. So this card is about exploration and youthfulness and new beginnings and being excited and wanting to explore. So again, depending what the question is, we would relate that type of activity and that kind of thought process to moving the question forward. Whereas you may look at this same card and say, I like it because, not because it's a child, because it's a horse. And the horse is going to do the heavy lifting. So it means that in the answer to your question, you just have to sort of go along with it. It's as if the company itself or the team is going to provide the momentum that will move the project forward. You'll contribute by being there, and maybe you come up with some ideas, but the heavy lifting, so to speak, is done by the horse. It's done by somebody else. So if you, the questioner, don't have too many good ideas or too much to offer the situation, don't worry about it, because the horse is going to do the moving, and you'll end up in a good position, but you won't have had to do a lot of work. And maybe somebody else would look at the card and say, I like this card. This is a good card because the child is holding a banner. So you're going to get, so again, depending on the question, you're going to get public recognition of what you've done because there's a banner and everybody can see the banner and everybody can understand that it represents victory. It's a flag and it represents the team, or it represents the squad, or whatever it happens to be. So we're looking at the same card, but we're seeing different things, and we're talking about what we like and why we like it, and the questioner is going to get something out of it, get out of it what they need. And so the other thing is there's a wall there. So maybe the questioner has been talking about, this is a situation, but I'm afraid that what happened in the past is going to spoil what's going on right now, which is better than it was. But you look at the card and you say to the questioner, there's a wall in the background of the card. So what happened on the other side of the wall isn't going to influence or affect what's going on in front of the wall. So you may be afraid that the past is going to catch up with you, but it's not. There's that expression, what happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. So behind the wall, it's Las Vegas, and it's going to stay there. It's not going to affect the present. And then you can look at the devil card, and we've got the man and the woman. So you turn the card and you say, we've got the devil here. I don't like this card because it shows the man and the woman, the people, can't move around that much. And maybe you say, be careful who you attach yourself to, or be careful who you get stuck with, because it's as if the people didn't choose to put a collar around their neck and attach it to the stone, right? So it's more like, make sure that you pay attention to the kinds of people you're coming into contact with or you're coming connected with, because they may not have your best interests at heart, or they may not be what they appear to be. But again, depending on the question, if the questioner is concerned about having to make decisions and having to have a plan, let's say, and the devil comes up, you look at the card and you don't say, I don't like this. You say, I like this because the people can't move around that much. Somebody else is going to make the big decisions, so you don't have to. So for the time being, or in the immediate future, you're not going to have to come up with an overall plan. You're not going to have to come up with major renovations or major revamping of the department or the company or whatever it happens to be. What you're doing here with the devil card, all you can do is take small steps. And because the card is upright, the small steps will lead you to a stronger position where you can then maybe take over or have more of a say in the overall direction in which you're going to go. It doesn't have to be work. It can be a family as well. You know, you've got you and a partner and 2 children and let's say 2 grandparents, and people are not, maybe people aren't getting along that well. So what do? You take small steps. So you look at the people involved and you introduce one small change that will make a bit of difference, a bit of improvement. And with a few little steps, you'll discover that the situation changes for the better because you've made improvement, small improvements, but it'll have a cumulative impact. And the last one I've got here is the 8 of Batons, because you can look at this and think there's nothing much going on here. But I like it because it shows there are 8 batons flying through the air, and they're kind of about the same point. There has been organisation and planning before the arrows were fired in order to get to this kind of position. So I like it because it shows there has been organisation, there has been planning, people are on the same page, they're following the same script. So they're cooperating with each other, which is why they were able to, everybody fire the arrow or throw the whatever you call that, the baton, at the same time. So they're all, and maybe in the same direction as well. Whereas if the card is upside down, organisation was lacking at some point in the past. Or maybe organisation will be lacking in the future. So make sure that you don't let things slide or let other people who don't know what they're talking about make important decisions, because otherwise people will not be on the same page. People will start at different times and you'll get confusion instead of harmony, because this card upright shows harmony, upside down disharmony. Okay, so I'm not going to go on to the 7th card in a Celtic cross. I'll do that next, but I hope you enjoyed that. But so what you do is you say, come up with an expression, I like this card because, and then explain why you like it. And you'll discover that you end up saying important and interesting and relevant things, even though you didn't know what you were going to say at the second that you turned over the card. As you talk, and as you've got the idea, I like it because, or I don't like it because, you relate what the picture shows to the question that was asked. And you'll end up saying something that's relevant for the questioner. So they take away good information that they can then work with later. Okay. I'll see you in a few days with card number 7 of the Celtic Cross. Okay? Bye-bye.